think most Americans want to see a compromise. Has repeatedly compromised already. The House began. It is the view of every Republican in this body, and indeed every Republican in the House, that Obamacare should be entirely and completely repealed. Nonetheless, the House started with a compromise of saying not repealing Obamacare, but simply that it should be defunded. They funded the entire federal government and defunded Obamacare. It came to the Senate, and the majority leader and 54 Democrats voted in lockstep to say, no, absolutely not, we won't talk, we won't compromise. The House then came with a second compromise. They said, fine, if the Senate will not agree to fully defund Obamacare, then let's all agree to a reasonable one-year delay. President Obama has already delayed Obamacare for big business. Let's treat hardworking American families at least as well as big business. Let's have a one-year delay because we're seeing how badly this thing is working. Now, that's a big compromise from defunding. It came over to the Senate, and the majority leader and 54 Senate Democrats said, no, absolutely not. We will not talk. We will not compromise. Shut the government down. The House came back a third time and said, okay, how about we simply delay the individual mandate, one small portion of Obamacare, and we revoke the congressional exemption that President Obama illegally gave members of this Congress to exempt us from the burdens of Obamacare that are inflicted on millions of Americans. Now, Mr. President, that offer represented an enormous compromise from the view of Republicans that Obamacare should be repealed in its entirety. And what did the Senate say? Did the Senate say, let's sit down and work something out? Did the Senate say, let's find a middle ground? No. The majority leader and the 54 Senate Democrats said, absolutely not. No, we will not talk. We will not compromise. Shut the government down. And that's why the government is shut down right now. Just a moment ago, the majority leader gave his latest offer. It was, give us everything we demanded, 100%, no compromise, no middle ground. That is the position of the Democrats in this body. Mr. President, that's not a reasonable position. That's not the way people work together to find a middle ground. You know, it was reported that the majority leader urged the president not even to talk to congressional leaders. Now, the president apparently had a change of heart and sat down with congressional leaders and had what, by all accounts, was an extraordinary conversation where President Obama told congressional leaders, I called you over here to say I'm not going to talk to you. I am not going to negotiate. I must admit, that's a remarkable conversation to call someone over to say, hi, good to see you, we're not going to talk. Mr. President, if this matter is going to be resolved, we need to see good faith among members on both sides. Republicans have repeatedly been offering compromises to resolve this shutdown. And unfortunately, the behavior of the majority party in this body has been my way or the highway, and one can only assume that their stated public belief, as what actually a senior administration official from the Obama administration said, we think we're winning politically. We don't, I'm paraphrasing, but we don't care when the shutdown ends. That's a paraphrase. It's not exact, but that was certainly the thrust of the statement from what was described as a senior administration official. I think that's cynical. I think that's partisan. I don't think that's what we should be doing. So I wish the majority leader and the Democrats would accede to what should be shared bipartisan priorities, but it appears right now that they are not, that their position is give us everything, fully fund Obamacare, and force it on the American people. That I cannot consent to, and so I object.
The objection is heard. Is there objection to the original